Hey guys, welcome to part 2 of my top 10 metal bands of all time. Hopefully you saw 10 to 6 and enjoyed my top 3 albums from each of those bands. Now we're going to move on from 5 to 1. This is all in order of how much I like each band. The top 5 were extremely hard. I mean, to pick the order. It wasn't hard to pick which ones I would put in them. But anyways, for my 5th favorite metal band of all time is Megadeth, and the albums I picked after much sort of thought for my 3rd favorite album from them. It was between this and Peace Sells But Who's Buying, and I ended up going with this one, United Abominations. And the reason I did is pick this one because I bought this and listened to it before I heard Peace Sells, and it's, it's not as technical and all that, but it seemed to explode a lot more to me than, especially the 2 new albums. I mean, 13 and Endgame are cool, but this one kind of announced itself a bit more to me, and this to me is sort of like the more reformed Megadeth. The System was cool as well, but this really sort of says we're back to me anyways. So that was my 3rd favorite one. And also I preferred Glenn Drover, and I prefer him to Chris Broderick overall. I think his style suited Megadeth a bit more. His vibrato, his note choice, just the way he wrote solos and all that. For my 2nd favorite Megadeth album of all time, I picked Countdown to Extinction, which is to me sort of like kind of their Black album compared to the album that came before it, which was Rust in Peace. It's a bit more simplified. The songs are a bit more straightforward. The riffs are really awesome. It's got 2 of my favorite Marty Friedman solos of all time, which are Skin in My Teeth and Symphony of Destruction. And but it's got that technical side as well with Ashes in Your Mouth. I mean, that could have been on Rust in Peace, but it's got a bit of a different tone to it, which is cool. For my number 1 favorite album from Megadeth, I chose Rust in Peace, which is obviously a big cliche, but it's got everything I like about them, which is the catchiness, good lyrics, good vocal melodies, great riffs, progressive nature, technical nature. The guitar solos are awesome. I mean, every one of Marty Friedman's solos on this album is just amazing. The vibrato, it's the definitive Megadeth album. It's got political commentary, just everything. Right, for my 4th favorite metal band of all time, I'm gonna go with Trivium. And Trivium seems to have this knack of putting out an album, and whenever they do, it's my favorite album at that time, whenever they put it out. So, for my 3rd favorite Trivium album, for the last year, this has been my favorite album from them. But overall, maybe not my complete favorite from them, which is In Waves, the new one. The reason it's 3rd is because overall the soloing it's not my favorite album for the soloing, but it's got, I think, some of the best riffs. Matt Heafy's vocals are the best. I think it's the best he's ever sounded. He's really sort of locked in to his vocal style a lot more, and it just plays upon its strengths. Good riffs, good songs, good vocals. The lyrics are a bit more kind of ambiguous. Everything's really good, and everything locks in on this album. In terms of art, the artwork and the music and the lyrics, and it's just everything locks in really nicely, and that's why this has been my favorite for the last year or so. 2nd favorite Trivium album would be Ascendancy. Ascendancy obviously is just so heavy, it's so aggressive, produced by Andy Sneap, which is awesome, and it just announces itself to the world really, and it's probably the most aggressive Trivium album, I'd say. And it's got everything you want, the soloing, the riffs, the vocals, the sort of proggy technical aspect to it, slightly, but the proggy aspect was taken to a new level on my favorite album, which is Shogun. And Shogun is one of the reasons I switched to using 7-string guitars. It combined the 2 things I wanted most, which was thrash metal and prog metal in terms of what I wanted to write. And when I heard this stuff, it would literally it literally was the sound in my head. So that was like the soundtrack to my life for a while. So there you go. 3rd favorite metal band of all time is Pantera. Dimebag Darrell is my favorite guitar player ever, hands down. Third favorite album would be Far Beyond Driven. The reason it's third is because after track 4 it gets a little bit kind of weird for me. It's not as easy to lock into. I mean, there's some great. Obviously, the first 4 tracks are just stellar. From Strength Beyond Strength, Strength That I'm Broken. It's just flawless. I mean, the weird tracks are cool, like Good Friends and a Bottle of Pills and Hardline Sunken Cheeks, but and Slaughtered. After that, it just gets a little bit weird. I like Shedding Skin. You know, there's a couple of tracks on there that are kind of cool, the cool aspects, but maybe overall are not my favorite Pantera tracks. And the cover's awesome. Second favorite album is Vulgar Display of Power. Most people would put this as their third, but when I get to my first, I'll tell you why. This is not my first. Obviously, I don't need to say much about this album. You know, everything locks in. You know, the aggression, the cover. You know, the cover speaks for itself, and it. Great riffs. Regular People's probably my favorite riff off it. The solos are amazing. Well, I think the solos are probably a bit more soulful on this album than they are on Cowards from Hell. Probably the most I say soulful soloing album. Yeah, so that's my second favorite Pantera album. My first is Cowards from Hell because what it has that Vulgar Display of Power doesn't is a bit more of the. It's not a progressive metal album, but it's got progressive aspects. You know, lots more key changes, more riffs, time signature changes. You know, the guitar playing is just a bit more technical, so it leans towards more of the progressive aspect, and I guess I've always leaned towards that in some way. So that's what makes this my favorite Pantera album ever. You know, it's just amazing. Second favorite band, probably obvious, Dream Theater. Octavarium is my third favorite album of all time from them. It's just so varied from all the heavy stuff, from Root of All Evil and Panic Attack to really soft stuff like Answer Lies Within, and then the proggy stuff like Octavarium, and just everything in terms of the artwork, it ties in really nicely, and that I'd like to get that sort of on Endeavour releases where everything just likes to tie in, you know, artwork, lyrics, and music. Second favorite album from Dream Theater is Black Clouds and Silver Linings. Just mainly because of the track The Count of Tuscany. It is probably my favorite song of all time. Possibly, I'm changed from day to day. But everything, just from that song to the first 3 songs, A Nightmare to Remember is amazing. I've listened to that track too many times for my own good. I just, once again, it's just a really, it's one of those few albums where I think if I had to live with one album for the rest of my life, this would be one of my strong contenders for that thing, just because it's so varied. And then, first choice, very obvious, Images and Words. It's the best Dream Theater album. Don't argue with me. And just from track 1, Pull Me Under, to Learning to Live, it's just perfect. The solos, the riffs, the production, the lyrics, the vocal melodies, and just the construction of the songs is unbelievable. So that's first favorite. Favorite metal band of all time is Metallica. Could it be more obvious? And third favorite album is the Black Album. That I won't talk about much about this because I've talked about this too many times. And Sandman is the reason I wanted to play guitar, and I would not be doing this video if it wasn't for this album. So that's kind of self-explanatory. Second favorite album from Metallica is Master of Puppets. It's just, well, it speaks for itself, doesn't it? It's progressive, it's metal, it's amazing. You know, that's all you really need to know about it, and if you don't have it, get it. And the reason it's not my first favorite album is because I heard this one first, and Justice for All for me is just Master of Puppets on steroids. Yeah, you can't really hear the bass, but for me everything is just so amazing about this album. The riffs, the technicality. It's the most technical Metallica album. This is probably the reason I got into the progressive aspect of music. You know, with songs that were 9 minutes long. You know. And yeah, I think this is some of Kirk Hammett's best soloing that he's ever done. So those are my top 10 metal bands of all time. I hope you sort of enjoyed watching these videos, and it's just this was mainly done as a response to Black Zombie 81, I think it was. And yeah, so there'll be more useless information coming up at some point during the summer. So thanks for watching, and see you later. Bye.